The only benefit after being reborn is probably that the limbs are now flexible and can jump around. This realization makes Fan Xian feel very relieved. People who have not suffered from his kind of disease may find it difficult to feel this kind of happiness. He comforted himself, "This may be God's gift to me." It took him 4 years to think clearly about this problem. Since there is a chance to live again, why not live a good life? Since God has given me a new life, if I don't live well, wouldn't I be disrespecting God? For example, since I can move now, why don't I move more? Therefore, the entire servants of the Earl's mansion knew that this young master from a concubine was a character who couldn't take any time off. "Master, please, come down quickly." At this time, Fan Xian was sitting at the top of the rockery in the yard, looking at the horizon in the distance and smiling. But in the eyes of the maid, a 4-year-old child actually climbed to such a high place and had such a mature smile that exploded. It was obvious that the little guy was suffering from heart failure. Gradually, more and more people gathered under the rockery, and 7 or 8 servants were anxiously surrounding the rockery. Although Count Sinan is appreciated by His Majesty the Emperor, after all, his title is not high, his official position is not high, and his apparent income is not too much. Even if he has a lot of income, it is impossible to use it all on his mother and illegitimate son. So the Earl, there are not many servants in Beppu. Fan Xian looked at the anxious faces of the people under the rockery, couldn't help but sigh, and climbed down obediently. "It's just some exercise. Why are you so anxious?" The servants had long been accustomed to the fact that their young master had the habit of imitating the tone of adults, so they were not surprised. So they hugged him and went to take a bath. When Fan Xian came out with his lipstick whitened, his teeth whitened, his body fragrant and his skin tender, the maid hugged him again, touched his face with a smile, and teased. The young master was born like a young lady from other families. I don't know which family he will give birth to in the future. The lady is enjoying herself? Fan Xian stupidly did not answer. He would not use the mouth of a 4-year-old child to tease his teenage maid sister. He did not bother to do such a dishonorable thing. Wait until he was 6 years old before starting this great and challenging job. It's time for a nap, little ancestor. The maid patted the little guy's butt. They had always been surprised. Although the young master in Earl's villa was young and had already begun to show his naughty temperament, he still maintained an adult's self-discipline in some aspects, and hard work, like taking a nap. Anyone who had a normal childhood will always remember how they fought desperately against the big demons who forced them to sleep in the bright midday sun. Some of those demons are called Dad, some are called Mom, and some are called teachers. But young Master Fan Xian is a person who never needs anyone to force him to take a nap. Every time at 12 o'clock at noon, he will put on the cutest innocent smile, obediently return to his bedroom and start sleeping, and he will continue to sleep in the middle of the day. Not a sound will be made. The old lady didn't believe it at first and told the maids to keep an eye on the little guy, thinking that he was misbehaving in the bed in the name of sleeping. But after staring at him for more than half a year, she found that the kid was really fast asleep every time and even screamed. It was difficult to wake him up. From then on, the maids no longer paid attention to this matter. When he slept, they usually stayed outside to watch. It was summer at this time, and the maids were naturally very tired. They were leaning forward, and the small luo fans in their hands were gently swaying. Occasionally, flying fireflies danced lightly in the fan breeze. Back in the bedroom, Fan Xian climbed onto the bed, lifted up the mat on it, and carefully took out a book from the hidden compartment underneath. The cover of the book is slightly yellow and looks old, but there is not a single word on it. But there are some unknown patterns embroidered on the corners, and the end of each stroke is curled up like a flowing stream. It's like a cloud, but also like a corner of Guangxia with an ancient charm. He gently opened the book and turned to the 7th page. There was a naked man drawn on it. Some red lines on the body seemed to be invisible. He didn't know what kind of paint it was painted with, but it actually made people watch. People have a visual illusion, as if these lines are flowing slowly in a certain direction. Fan Xian sighed. He looked like he was only 4 years old, so he never dared to show his true nature too much. Fortunately, there was a book like this that could help him kill his boring time. This book was left to me by the blind boy named Wu Zhu when I was very young. Fan Shan always remembered the blind young man, the servant of the mother of his world. He had stayed in that boy's arms when he was trapped in the body of a small baby. From Kyoto all the way to this port on the seaside. Maybe the other party thought that he was too young and would not remember anything at all. But Fan Shan's soul is not an ignorant baby. Along the way, he could already see that the blind boy's care for his baby came from the bottom of his heart and could not be faked at all. But for some unknown reason, after the blind boy sent him to Earl Sinan's mansion, he left the mansion and did not stay even though the old lady tried to persuade him to stay. Before he left, he placed the book next to the baby's body. Fan Shan has always been confused about this matter. Isn't this servant afraid of practicing blindly? After thinking about it, I realized the reason. As a child, it was impossible for me to recognize the words in the book, so naturally I was not afraid of problems with practicing. But Fan Shan happened to know the words in this world. It happened that after experiencing this great change and rebirth, he even believed in things like ghosts and gods. He was even more convinced that the book in front of him, which looked like a prop in a Hong Kong TV series, was a certain person, a kind of spiritual cultivation method. It's a pity that it doesn't have a name, otherwise I could go to the kids on the street and ask if this Qi training method is powerful. Thinking of this, Fan Shan giggled again. Since this thief god allowed him to live again, he should cherish it even more. This internal skill is a good thing that is not available in his world. Even if the nameless mental method in front of him is not good, but I couldn't help but start practicing from the age of 1. You must know that this is not a few levels lower than starting from the mother's womb. You must know that all the people in the world, including the great masters who are worshipped as gods by the common people, no matter how talented they are, cannot be like Fan Shan, who started to practice the internal energy from the time they were born. What is this called? This is called the early bird catching the worm, and this is called the stupid bird flying first. What's more, I'm not stupider than those teenagers who are just getting a glimpse of martial arts, right? Fan Shan thought like this, and the real airflow that already had a clear sense of qi began to slowly follow the lines drawn in the books and flow on his body. It felt very comfortable, like some kind of warm water washing him. Every inch of internal organs in the body. Gradually, he entered a meditative state and fell asleep comfortably on the bed.